Did you know that the mighty Thor Jane Foster's original name instead of Thor was Thordis? Stick around and I'll give you a quick overview of the mighty Thor, as well as reviewing the 2 Hasbro figures released based on this character. If you're only interested in the character bio or action figure review, then feel free to check the time markers below, but I do hope that you'll watch until the end. The world would first be introduced to Jane Foster in Journey into Mystery number 84, written by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, whose credits include The Hulk, Daredevil, and many more. Jane would be a longtime love interest for Thor in a type of mystery romance not unlike Superman and Lois Lane, with Thor attempting to keep his identity hidden from Jane. In September of 2014, Marvel decided that it was time for an all-new, all-different Thor. In issue number 25 of Thor, God of Thunder, written by Jason Aaron, we would see a new female figure wielding the mighty Mjolnir, while also seeing the original Thor unable to lift the famed hammer. This new Thor would be none other than Jane Foster. No longer a simple nurse in love with Thor, Jane would take on the mantle, proving to the world that Thor is more than just a name, but a title of responsibility. As Thor, Jane would possess all of the same abilities as the original Thor, now going by Odin's son to distinguish himself from his successor. When transformed into Thor, Jane also possesses an Asgardian's physiology. Her abilities include superhuman strength, speed, durability, and more. These are all increased by the possession of Mjolnir, which also allows her to fly and control the weather. As Thor, she would battle many powerful foes, but as Jane, she would battle cancer. One of the major side effects of becoming Thor would be that her chemotherapy treatments would be negated. This would be a constant struggle for Jane, as she knew she needed to help those that needed it, yet also needing help herself. In a climactic battle against the major foe, Thor would sacrifice both Mjolnir and herself to protect all Asgardians. Odin's son would attempt to revive Jane, but could only do so with the help of his father and king, Odin. Odin's son would once again become worthy and reclaim his title as Thor. Jane would go back to her human life and continue her chemotherapy treatments, but she would long for the adventures she had left behind. It wouldn't be long before she would be called back into battle, but this time as Valkyrie. Jane, as Thor, would lead her own comic series from 2014 to 2018. She is set to return as Thor in the comics during 2022. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jane Foster is played by Natalie Portman. Her character had been updated to an astrophysicist as opposed to a medical practitioner. In the upcoming Thor, Love and Thunder film, set to be released on July 8th, 2022, we do see Jane wielding a pieced-together Mjolnir. We have Hasbro's Marvel Legends, The Mighty Thor, from the new upcoming Thor, Love and Thunder. On the side you can see the art for the character. Different art on the back. The Build-A-Figure is Korg. We have 6 regular figures and then another Thor figure. Thor Odin's son. Same box art on the other side. Get her open. I do like to say the art from the boxes. Thor, Jane Foster, as played by Natalie Portman. We have a nice plastic cape on here. This is all new molding, it looks like. What's nice about the new way or plastics that Hasbro uses is that it's much more flexible as opposed to previous releases where it's just a lot tougher to move around. All of it feels softer as opposed to what they used to do or use. So what's nice is that we have bicep swivel on this character, which is not typical for female characters. We have a pinless design, and we have double joints for the elbow, which is great, and also another very uncommon feature for female characters in the Hasbro Marvel Legends series. All the boots, legs, all new molding. Looks really good, a lot of detail. Paint apps are really good on this. A lot of silver you're seeing. These wings are pretty neat. No alternate hands, but she does have the gripping hand for the Mjolnir that it comes with.
This Mjolnir does have cracks in it, similar to what we see in the trailer, to represent the Mjolnir that was broken in Ragnarok but now pieced back together. She also comes with a masked head, and the mask cannot come apart, but that's why it's a whole separate head. The face itself definitely looks very much like Natalie Portman, like in previous releases, like with the Scarlet Witch from WandaVision. It does appear like they are using their face scanning technology to create these sculpts. Back in the day, they used to just make the sculpts by hand, and we got what we got, and sometimes they were pretty good, a lot of times they weren't, but the vast majority of the Marvel Cinematic Universe figures are coming out very, very good. Here we have the original comic book version of the Mighty Thor, Jane Foster. This one also does not have alternate hands, but it also does have the gripping hand, but instead of the open hand that comes with the new figure, it just has a fist on the other side. This is fairly comic accurate with the design and the colors and everything. What I really like about this is that it has this arm brace that gives it a break in the symmetry of the design of the character, which I think is really cool. They don't quite do that with the new version, or the movie version rather, but they do have this band on her right arm. They do continue these gauntlets though. It's a good design. This one also gets the bicep swivel, so it's nice. This one also has the pinless design, but it is the regular female 90-degree arm bend. This cape also obviously came off pretty easily. It just pegs into the back, and it just kind of sits on the figure itself. Doing a cape comparison, this one's not pegged on, it's fully attached. No alternate heads on this one. I think what's really nice is all the detail that we see applied here and on the sides. It goes all the way to the back as well. What I really appreciate is when Hasbro will put even detail on the back, even though they don't necessarily have to, in the sense that nobody's really going to see it, especially with a caped character. But they do it, which is great. I think one of the issues with this figure is the part of the costume is that it comes out in kind of an angle, and the issue with that is that it prevents Thor from being able to go fully overhead with her arm. Otherwise, comparing with the original design, what's really interesting to see is what parts that they keep and what parts that they don't. You can see that they are keeping this design on the helmet very similar on both, and obviously the fact that it comes down to the nose is the same. It's keeping the ears the same, and on these, what's nice is that they're soft, so you don't have to worry about them breaking off or anything like that. The gauntlets are similar, but I still prefer the design of this one. I like that it comes up to here. One of the things that they didn't do on this that they're doing over here are the 6 like silver discs that Thor typically has on his classic design. With this one, it's a fully different design, which is still cool. I like this one a lot, but just the difference to make note of. Interesting that they have this 3 circular disc right on the belt. No knee pads on the comic version. And then the wings on the boots for the comic version kind of get moved up to the calves on here. The cape overall is much nicer on the movie version than the comic version. I think the way they drape it here is cooler and nicer than this one. What's really nice is all the detail that you see in the hair, all the curls in there, and even on the helmet you can see that they have a fair amount of design in there that is pretty neat. And even the face sculpt inside of this one is still the same Natalie Portman face. overall, both are very accurate to who they are representing. And I think that, for me, is always the coolest thing, is when you can get them to be as accurate as possible.
Thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments, then please feel free to comment below. I'm open to suggestions on these videos, or if you'd like to see anything more specifically about the figures, or what you'd like to see in the next video, then I'd love to hear it.